I'd like to welcome everybody to today's workout. My name is Jordan Guillen, and I'm the PSP Fitness and Sports Coordinator out of London, Ontario, supporting Southwestern Ontario. In today's workout, we're going to focus on a combination of muscular hypertrophy as well as muscular endurance. For your safety, before participating within this workout, please take a moment and read the disclaimer within the description of this video. Before we get started in today's session, I want to take a moment to explain the structure of today's workout. Today's workout is going to consist of 10 exercises in total, and it's going to be divided into two parts. Within the first part of today's workout, with the focus being more so muscular hypertrophy, we'll be focusing on moving through these 10 exercises in a sequence from 1 to 10, 30 seconds work with 30 seconds rest. So in part one, we're going to focus on using a moderate level of resistance, and we've paired it up to give ourselves 30 seconds of work and 30 seconds of rest. So we do want to consider choosing a weight that we can sustain. In that 30 seconds, we do want to aim for a repetition of anywhere between 8 and 12. And what's going to really depend on how many reps you get is going to be the speed in which you move through your movements. So if you are using a heavier resistance, you may move a little bit quicker through, and you may get more repetitions, whereas if you're going to use a lighter amount of resistance, there's the likelihood that you can move under a slower pace and complete less repetitions within. But that's the range we want to try to work within. When we move into the second part of today's workout, which is going to consist of those same 10 exercises, 1 through 10, the main difference is that we're going to switch. We're going to focus on 20 seconds of work with 10 seconds rest, and we're going to move through that relatively quickly. We're going to need to use a lighter amount of resistance potentially, just because we're going to be focusing on less rest and we're going to be more fatigued. So there is a lot of volume in today's session. There is a lot of work. In total, just over 30 minutes, we will end up completing 40 sets. And obviously, there's going to be perhaps 8 to 12 times that in terms of the amount of actual repetitions. So I'll give you modifications throughout the workout, but that's the overview. Hope you enjoy. Before I get into the specifics of today's workout, being the exercises we're going to be performing, I do want to take a brief moment to talk about the resistance. So today I'm going to be using a resistance band, and I am going to be using a couple kettlebells. However, this can be easily modified at home, finding a piece of resistance that will allow you to perform each of these exercises. Please, once again, look in the description of this video for suggestions. Now let's get into the exercises themselves. So today the first exercise we're going to be starting off with a squat. And with a squat, we're going to want to focus on feet hip width, shoulder width apart. We're going to want to keep our back neutral, chest out, and we're going to squat down to a depth that's comfortable for us. So I like to keep my arms out front of my body. So I'm going to come down, and then I'm going to come up to the top, but I'm not going to be locking out at my knee. Okay, so this is the first exercise. Second exercise is going to be a lunge, but primarily with a quad focus. In order to do this, we want to keep our chest up and our upper body nice and straight. So what we'll do is we'll focus on stepping forward and stepping back, and we'll make sure that we are alternating each leg. So moving to the side, you're going to notice that I'm going to stay fairly upright. I'm stepping forward and I'm stepping back, and I'm going relatively deep, but that's where I'm comfortable. You don't have to follow the range of motion that I do, so adjust to whatever is best for you. I would recommend, however, that you do keep your front heel as you step forward into the ground. So that front heel stays down. If you're coming up with the heel, you may need to make some modifications. You may need to step out further. Moving into the next exercise. The next exercise is known as a Romanian deadlift. So I'll use a band for this. So I'm going to need to tighten it up a little bit just so I do maintain resistance. So I'm going to step on the band. And from here, I'm going to want to make sure that I have a nice neutral spine. I got a bend in the knee. And from this position here, I'm going to come up to the top. But once again, I'm not locking out at the knee. And you can see I'm slightly hinged forward to keep resistance in through the hamstrings. So I'm coming down, but not all the way because I don't want to transfer the weight into the lower back. So I'm keeping the focus primarily on the hamstring, okay, so the back of the leg. I know I didn't specify quad is the front, okay? So that was what we referred to in the last exercise, doing that upright style lunge. So the secondary movement we're going to be doing here is going to be a walking lunge. So I'm going to use this resistance because I find that it helps the movement. The main difference here in this lunge is that when I step forward, I am going to bring my chest closer in towards the leg that's out in front of me. So I'm going to close the gap between my chest and my knee, but I'm still going to keep my spine neutral, if not arched. I'm not going to come up to the top position. And this is going to allow me to primarily target the glutes as well as the hams. So from this position, I'm going to step forward with a smaller step. And as you can see, I'm not coming all the way up. I'm more so sitting up and down. And I'll just demonstrate that a couple more times. So the weight is coming out in front of the body, but I'm still keeping the back nice and neutral. We can also do this from a front position. So as we step forward, we're just changing the gap. Okay, so the back is still straight or arched, but the difference is that the chest is closing the gap between the quad, and that's going to primarily target, once again, the glutes and the hams. So moving into our next exercise is going to be the push-up. So with the push-up, we can do this just from the floor is absolutely fine. And I'll give some modifications throughout. Just remember with the push-up, the hands are going to go just underneath the shoulders. So a good thing to do would be to take your thumb underneath, release, and then arms are going to be at about a 45-degree angle. And we're going to be retracting our back. So retracting our back means that we're bringing our shoulder blades tighter together. And when we push up, we're going to be doing so from the chest. So keep that in mind with all the movements that we're performing. So I'm going to start into the upper position, and I'm going to perform the full push-up for now. So hands are underneath the shoulders, retracting the back, and I'm going to control my movement through the positive and the negative. Okay? I'll give adjustments as we go through the workout. The next exercise, we're going to be focusing on a chest fly. With the chest fly, we're going to need to make sure that we have a secure object that we can attach this to. So for me, I'm going to use the rack here behind me, and I'm just going to loop it around. So the fly is going to isolate the chest or the pecs. So I'm going to grab onto one handle each. I'm going to need to come down to a level position. So I'm starting with some resistance and some tension pulling behind me. My back, my shoulder blades are retracted. So from this position here, I'm going to bring my hands forward. I'm going to straighten out my elbows, and I'm going to push my chest forward. So I'm going to allow my elbows to come back, but my hands are still in a forward tight position. And as I come forward, I'm just going to stick my chest out. I'm going to squeeze my pecs together. So forward, breathing in on the way down and relaxing. So after the fly, we're going to focus on a bent row. So within the bent row, it's a similar position as what we were doing for the Romanian deadlift. So I am going to have to lose some tension because it's just not going to be tight enough. So once I get into my position, my back is level, I'm controlling in on the way down, and I'm contracting in on the way up. So I'm breathing in on the way down and out on the way up. The whole time I'm focusing on keeping my chest out. Now there is an alternative to this exercise I'll show you throughout. We're going to move back into doing a push-up, and this is a movement that most people wouldn't think that you could target your back, your rear delts, and your triceps, but you can. It's all about positioning. So we're just gonna go a little bit wider with our hands. When we're in this position, we're gonna be pushing outwards without moving our hands. And rather than retracting our back, we're gonna protract our back. So we're gonna basically focus on spreading out our lats, and we're not gonna move through the full range of motion. So we're gonna stay in the upper half of the range of motion. So we're down in the push-up position, we're pushing out with our hands, we've spread out our back, and now we're just focused on keeping the elbows more out so they're not quite at the 45. So they're going to be more in line with our upper chest as we come down. And then we're just really targeting here the rear delt, the triceps, and the outer back, right? Hopefully you learned something new with that. The next movement is going to be a shoulder press. Once again, I'll grab the band for this. I'm going to go 1 foot back and I'm going to step forward. So I'm going to work from this 90-degree angle position. I'm going to come overhead without locking the elbows, down under control, and back up. So we're going to move through that range of motion. The next exercise is going to be a lateral raise. So I've changed my foot positioning, 1 foot back, 1 foot forward, and I'm coming up to the side. Now I'm not going to come all the way down because then I'm going to lose tension. So my elbows are staying up, and my hands are in a down position. So as I get to the top, you'll notice that I'm fairly level. I'm not opened up and leaning back, and that's going to allow me to target the middle of the delt. Okay, so those are the exercises. Get your music ready. I'm not playing music today, so it's whatever you want from home. We're going to do a warm-up. The warm-up's not going to be too long, because basically we're not really focused on cardiovascular activity today. However, I wouldn't be surprised if the heart rate gets up just because of the amount of work and then the overall amount of volume that we're going to be doing today. Hope you enjoy. All right, everybody, I hope you're ready. We're getting started in 10 seconds. We're starting with the squat. I'm going to use the band here with the resistance behind and on my cue. So I'm going to control into the negative. I'm up, but I'm not locking out. So it's 1, 2, 3. Keep a neutral spine. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. All right. So I was in the 8 range, and that's primarily because I was focusing on more control, a little bit slower through the negative, but still fairly explosive to the positive. So a lot of people will neglect to focus on the negative. Keep in mind that that's not an area that you want to neglect. You are going to be stronger by about 40%. Might as well take advantage of it when you fatigue. So now we're into the lunge. I'm using just some resistance to the side. You could be focusing on holding some weight in front of your body, but my goal is to keep the chest nice and tall as I alternate from one side to the other. Shoulders are back, chest is out. All right, let's take a breather. So taking the rest in between so that we can focus on recovering marginally and be ready for the next exercise. It is going to help that we are moving from a different muscle group to another, but all of the exercises so far are fairly large compound movements, so you definitely will feel them. So chest out, we're doing that Romanian style deadlift. So we're sitting back, chest is out, back is arched, and I'm not locking out in that top position. So I'm sticking my glutes back as I keep my shoulders back and chest out, and I'm controlling through the negative, and then I'm a little bit quicker through the positive. All right, moving into that hamstring focused lunge. So get yourself into position. As I mentioned before, I like to walk through this one. So the key here is to keep that neutral or slightly arched spine. Close the gap between the chest and the quad. So let's get the resistance up into position. So I'm taking smaller steps. I'm bringing that resistance out in front of my body, and I'm more so stepping down into the movement. I will use a little bit of that walking momentum, but I promise you, you'll feel this one in through the glutes and the hammies. Next exercise is going to be the push-up. Heart rate's certainly elevated. That's just because of the continual movement. So far, based upon my heart rate, I am in an aerobic zone. So I'm just going to focus on taking a few deep breaths here in between. We do want to make sure we can maintain the work throughout. So if you need to, you just lighten the load. So controlling through. And if you need to, just focus on doing this from the knees. Push inward with your hands without moving them. Retracting through the back, pushing up through the chest. Controlling your movement all the way through. All right, 30 seconds in between. Starting to perspire a little bit here. We're going to move into the fly. So we do have about 15 seconds. Taking extra rest if you need it at any point. So I'm going to make sure that I'm in position, ready to go. Hopefully you've done the same. So I'm going to lose a couple of seconds here. So remember, nice and wide, squeezing as you come out in front. Keeping those hands pointed forward, or those fists, so the elbows are dropping back behind, and you're pushing the chest forward as we come in front of the body. I'm going to do a few extra reps, because I did miss a couple reps in the beginning. All right, moving back to the push-up type position. But this time remembering that we want to try to protract, which is spread the lats out. We're not going all the way. This can be done from an incline as well. Okay, so elbows are coming out as I push out with my pinky away from the body. Head is neutral. I'm not retracting my back. So I'm trying to push from the lats, the rear delt, and the tricep. All right, from here we're going to move into the shoulder press. And I'm going to stick with the lighter resistance because I can already tell that I'll have a little bit of a harder time maintaining with heavier resistance. This is one set, we'll have 3 to go. There will be some modifications as well. Okay, 90 degrees, pressing up overhead, control the negative, up, control down, back up, controlling down, and let's continue to move through. Breathing out on the way up, in on the way down. Work through the discomfort. So I'm going to use the same resistance. And it's going to be harder because this is an isolation movement. If at all you need to, just alternate from one arm to the other, and that's what I'll do if I start to feel it. Otherwise, I'm going to continue with both. I'm not going to come any closer to the body than this position here, so at 45. And that's primarily because you're going to lose resistance. So I'm trying to keep everything nice and controlled here. Breathing out and in. So wrists are pointed down, elbows are up. So my hands are lower than my elbow. And I'm trying not to lean back. Hands are coming more so in front of the body than to the side. So I'm out in front marginally, really trying to utilize this area here, middle down. So we are going to take a minute here. All right, so our 1 minute's up. Let's just get ready to start again. So we're back into the squat. I'll perform it from a side view this time. Resistance is out and behind. Control on the way down, chest out, and I really have only have resistance on the way up. So I'm trying to sit back as I come down, and I'm comfortable with this depth as long as I'm keeping my back in a neutral position. I'm comfortable with this range of motion. So keeping everything nice and controlled. All right, moving into the lunge, and I'm going to use resistance once again. We'll do this from a front view this time, and we're alternating from one side to the other. Shoulders are back, chest is tall. One on each side. There's 2. 3. We're going to get less reps overall because we are alternating. It's 5. 5, so we're still within our range. We're going to go into the Romanian. Chest forward. Coming back into the movement, but not fully extending out in the top. I want to try to keep that tension. Not coming down all the way, because I don't want to shift to my lower back. All right, from here, we're going to move into that walking lunge. Glute and ham focus. I like to do this as I move from one position to another. And if you're doing this in your living room, I'm sure you can find the space to at least take a few steps. Closing the gap. That's 2 on each side. It's 4 on each side. And 6. Moving into the push-up. Let's hang in there. We're almost through. Those are really big movements. Into the push-up. Remember the adjustments. Track the back. And let's get our resistance ready into the fly position. So into the fly. Let's get into position so we're ready to go. So elbows coming back, fists forward, chest out as you come in front of the body. So squeeze out in front of the body. Great work at home. Let's keep it up. Goal is to focus on the contraction. Keep tension through the range of motion. All right, next movement is going to be the bent row. And I'm going to use a little bit of that heavier resistance with the band on this movement. So we're almost through this 2 times. We'll take a little bit of a breather, and then we're going to continue. So second half of the class, as I mentioned, is going to be overall shorter. It's going to be half the time frame. It's going to be less the rest. So we're going to focus primarily on body weight where we can. Keeping the same kind of control and just getting in that extra volume. So depending on your level of fitness, you may decide to call it after this round. That's absolutely fine. So you can adjust or see how you feel and decide whether you're going to continue or not. So we're going to come into that push-up type position a little bit wider with our hand position, staying in the upper range, the upper half range, focusing on trying to target the back, so the rear delt, the tricep, and the upper back. Pushing outwards, away from the body. All right, into the shoulder. Focus on using this time. Recover a bit. Control, and then up overhead. Great job, let's keep it up. Head neutral. You may have noticed that I wasn't coming all the way up overhead. I'll try to keep outside of above the shoulder, so I keep tension, I'm not losing tension, and transferring the resistance through the skeletal system. So always trying to keep that tension on the muscle. So this round's going to finish us off with the side lateral. Keeping everything under control. Almost there. All right, let's take a breather. So take some time, catch your breath. If you want, you can pause the video. I'm going to stop it for a moment, reset my timer, and we're going to move into part 2. So for those of you who are maybe only going to do part 1, you can fast forward and you can just focus on doing the cool down. For those of you who aren't tuning back in, hope you enjoyed the workout. For everyone else, grab a drink, let yourself recover a little bit, and let's come back for part 2. So it's going to be the same exercises, 20 by 10, lighten your resistance. All right, welcome back. Hopefully you guys have taken the time, grabbed a drink, got some recovery. We're going to start again. 20 seconds work, we're focusing on the squat initially. Just remember to try to keep control. So the main difference here for me is that I'm no longer using the resistance on body weight based movements. Keep in mind that this is going to go relatively quick. So now we're into the lunge, keeping the upper body nice and tall. Doesn't mean we're going fast because we're going with less time. It just means that we're working for less time. We're still going to keep the same level of control. So at this point, we're just getting in a little bit more volume. We're moving into the Romanian style deadlift. So arms are extended. Same as before, we're sitting back, we're hinging at the hips, keeping the chest out, the shoulders back. Slight bend in the knees. All right, we're moving into the hamstring style lunge. Close the gap between the chest and the quad. Moving from one side to the other. Okay, good job. So we're going to be moving into a push-up. Adjusting as you need to from the knee, from the upper position. Just keep good control. Retract the back. Body's neutral. Move through the range of motion. All right, quickly to the fly, because this is going to come up fast. Fists forward, straighten the elbows in the front position. All right, we're moving into the row. Adjust the resistance as you need to. If the resistance is light, which it should be, just slow down your speed of motion and focus on the contraction. So with this next movement, it's that modified push-up to target more of the posterior of the body. Go to the knees if you have to. I'm just going to stay in that upper part of the range. And if you fatigue, you can rest all together. Okay, back into the shoulder. And we're almost through the third round. That's great. Same kind of control. Rest as you need to. All right, one more movement. Then we're going to take an extended rest break. Side lateral. Rest as you need to, okay? I'm fatiguing too if you are. We're almost there. Let's put in the extra work. I'd rather you rest than do a movement with bad form. So let's take the full rest here. You can call it here, I'll give you the out. And then just fast forward to the cool down. Or you can continue and move through this last set. So this will put us at 40 sets. We've completed 30 so far. And we've been going as far as work time for 20 minutes. 25 minutes. So this next round will put us above 30. So just as I'd indicated in the beginning. So 40 sets in under, or just over 30 minutes, sorry. All right, let's get ready. We're back into the squat. Stay controlled here. You're moving at your pace, but I'm focusing on keeping everything under control. I have less resistance now. I'm just moving with my body weight. I'm not locking out in the top. 10 seconds, it goes by quick. Lunge, keeping that body nice and straight, alternating. Let's keep it up. All right, great work. We're moving into that Romanian. Control on the way down. Adjust the resistance as you need to. So I'm in this position so you guys can assess my form. There is no hiding here. All right, wait till you feel your glutes tomorrow. Glute ham lunge. Neutral spine, but close the gap. Great job, guys. Into the push-up. And to get that fly somewhat ready. Focus on what you're doing. Contract as you move through the movement. Right into position. Straighten the arms in front of the body. All right, well done. Into the row. Hopefully you're already there. I'll do a couple extra. Okay, into the push-up, extend it back, upper range. Pushing outwards, rest at the top if you need to. Knees is an option. Upper range of the movement. Lat spread, shoulder press. Keep the control. Keep the tension. We're almost there. All right, one last movement. 40 sets in just over 30 minutes. Just hang in there. Keep form. All right, 31 minutes in total. My heart rate was definitely in an aerobic zone. I'm sure yours was too. That was a lot of work, very little rest. Take a couple minutes here, grab a drink. I'm gonna wrap things up. We're gonna do a cool down. So just to recap the class, we focused on 2 sets using muscle hypertrophy, 30 by 30, 1 through 10 with a minute rest. So we did that 2 times through. We reduced the resistance going into the second half, or part 2 of the class. We focused a little bit more on that strength endurance. You could argue that collectively it's a combination of the 2, which is why I'm calling it that. So we've reduced the amount of resistance, but we also reduced the work as well as the rest. So the first half was just over 20 minutes, the second half was just over 10, so making it just over 30 in total. So it was a lot of work. I'm sure that you have a lot of blood flow into the muscle. This workout is obviously great for muscular hypertrophy, which is building muscle. That's going to benefit you as you age. Sarcopenia is the atrophy of muscle, and the more muscle we have and the more muscle we can sustain as we age, it's going to allow us to keep healthier muscle density as well as bone density. Muscle is attached to bone, and muscle density will also strengthen and build bone density. And then it's also going to translate into your ability to perform any tasks that are related to any of the movements that we had done. So that's going to be, kneeling, squatting, pushing, pressing, lifting above head. So there's a lot of practical application for what we had done today. So let's just move into the cool down. Hopefully you guys are ready. Let's just bring one arm across the chest. And we're just going to focus on starting off with stretching out the shoulder. I would like to hear back from you, so if you did enjoy the class, let me know. just go ahead and put it in a comment or like the video. I'll do my best to reply to any feedback that I get, if I get any. If you did the whole workout, I'd like to know. If you did a part of the workout, I'd like to know what your modification was. If you want to list what kind of music you listen to, I'd like to hear. Let's reach out in front of the body, spread out those shoulder blades. So now we are protracting the back, right? We're trying to extend out the lats, so pulling those shoulder blades apart rather than inward, so we're not retracting. Let's come behind now, where we are focusing on bringing the shoulder blades together. Chest is out, but we're bringing our elbows back behind us, so we're trying to force them together behind our back, which is going to help to expand the chest. And I'm just moving around, letting my heart rate come down. So from here, let's just focus on taking one arm up and over. So I'm going to try to line it up down the center of my spine. And I'm going to keep my head forward, so my head is up off my chest. Once again, I'm just moving forward and back. And let's focus on switching to the alternate side. So you can repeat any of these stretches twice. I'm just going to move into the lower body. So from here, let's just shake it out, the upper body. Try to get some stability. Let's focus on bringing the upper legs together, bending at the knee. And what I'm trying to do here, and I'll do the opposite leg from the side. When I'm bringing my heel in towards my glutes, while I'm keeping my knees together. And you can do this on the floor as well if you want to lay on the side with the leg that's extended, and then just pull your leg in together. So I'm going to come to the side. I'm going to grab onto that leg. I'm keeping my legs parallel together. I'm keeping my knees close together. Keeping my body nice and straight. I'm pulling my heel in towards my glute. And if I want to enhance the stretch, I'm pushing my hips forward. And that's going to allow me to get a greater stretch through my quad. Slight bend in the supporting leg. So from here, let's bring one leg forward. Heel down, toe up. Body neutral, body in line. Supporting leg is bent. And if I want to enhance the stretch, I'm just going to sit down into the movement. Let's switch to the other side. And I am going to wrap the workout up there. Feel free to rewind and then to go through all of the stretches twice if you choose to. I would encourage you to check out the other videos on our playlist. And if you're viewing this on YouTube, which I'm sure you are, you could always check out PSP Southwestern Ontario on Facebook. Like us, follow us, stay informed of all of our local and national initiatives. So that's Jordan Guillen, PSP staff out of London, Ontario, supporting Southwestern Ontario, signing out.